Hello everybody and welcome back into the loving arms of the Tube. There's a lot to talk about, including the big announcements from CES, so let's get to business. Last week was dominated by CES, the Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas, which was the place to be if you wanted to get an update on the things we will buy in the coming years. So, what did we learn about the tech industry and what is it trying to sell us? We brought Niv Lilian to the studio to tell us all that happened last week in Las Vegas. Good evening.
Good evening, Jason. How are you?
So, tell us, what are the biggest trends this year that we saw at CES?
Actually, there are several trends that we saw in this year's CES. The biggest of them was basically autonomous cars and unmanned vehicles in general. We had drones, we had cars that can drive themselves. This was actually the main event, and also some sort of what you call an assisted driving, which is on the way to fully autonomous car. But it will make our driving in the following years. It will make it much easier.
There was lots of buzz on something called FF01. I want us to see a video about it, and then we're going to talk about why it was so buzzed about. So let's watch it. Okay, looks like science fiction to me. What's going on here? What is it?
It's rather impressive, isn't it?
Yes.
It's a concept car by a company called Faraday Future, which was flying under the radar up until recently. And this is basically what they're unveiling. This is a concept car, which actually they call a car of concepts, and it's basically it concentrates all the disruptive ideas that they have about making vehicles. Their CEO came from Tesla. This car is an electric car. Okay, it's a race car that is basically meant for the road, and it's totally electric. It has 1,000 horsepower. It accelerates from 0 to 100 kilometers in 3 seconds, which is amazing.
Crazy, yeah.
And when it comes to the vehicle itself, to the platform, it's a variable platform in which you can extend and you can withdraw the platform and make all sorts of vehicle on the same platform. You can have a light truck or a personal race car for one driver. All on the same platform, which means that they will get vehicles to market faster than the legacy car makers.
But that's a car that a person is needed to drive.
No, this is an assisted. This is some sort of smart. They call it a smart car.
Yes.
It's assisted driving. The car basically, some of it will drive itself, and it will assist you while navigating. It will give you, for example, it will know its driver. For example, if you have a restaurant that you like on the way, it will get you there. For example,
Netflix.
Yeah.
Netflix in a car. So if I understand it right, the most buzzed about and the biggest trends is, again, taking control out of human hands.
Yes. There are several companies working on that. And actually, the surprising part is that major mobile platform makers like NVIDIA and Qualcomm are basically are heading this trend. And they're all developing computers for the car to make them autonomous, to make the infotainment system better, to assist the driver while driving, and basically to allow the driver to let go some of the most basic driving skills, for example, parking.
Interesting, because on the other hand, you have the back to analog trend. What is that?
This is basically, if you're talking about an autonomous car in the future, this is basically the exact opposite. You're right. For somewhat surprise, we saw in CES 2016, we saw analog media like turntables and 8mm cameras are making a comeback, and this is rather amazing. Sony and Technics both introduced new turntables when we were thought that they were already extinct, they are making a comeback. Sony made a turntable that has a USB connector, which means you can digitize your entire record collection, but you can also use it as a regular turntable and listen to your records. And the other thing was Kodak bringing back the 8mm camera. Their CEO claims that this move was supported by several renowned film directors like Tarantino and Spielberg and others.
Yeah, but I'm assuming that renowned film directors will have something to do with the Kodak Super 8, but other than them, doesn't really have a market.
Okay, then that's the thing. Right now, these days, 8mm cameras are very expensive. You can get one for $5,000. But what the directors are supporting, basically, they want young filmmakers and people that do not have the money to buy full-scale 8mm camera to get a cheap one, and this is exactly what is Kodak doing. They are giving the people a cheap 8mm camera that young filmmakers and people that don't have the kind of budget that Tarantino or Spielberg has would also be able to do films in 8mm.
Cool. Well, sounds like you had a good year at CES. Thank you very much, Nivilian.
Thank you, Jason.
Before we'll talk about the other big announcement on CES, let's see what else happened in the last days. Apple Music has surpassed 10 million subscribers across iOS, Mac, PC, Android, and Apple TV in just 6 months, a milestone that took its largest rival, Spotify, around 6 years to accomplish. Apple Music, which launched in over 100 countries on June 30th, 2015, has cemented its position as the world's second largest streaming music service behind Spotify, which last announced reaching over 20 million paying subscribers and more than 75 million active users 3 weeks before Apple's streaming service became available. Apple Music could top Spotify as the largest streaming music service by numbers of subscribers in 2017, assuming that Spotify maintains around its current rate of growth. Just when we thought that Uber is going to take over the world of cab-hailing apps, a new hope has risen from the dark, and that hope is now Lyft. Lyft raised $1 billion from General Motors. That brought the company's total fundraising capital to $2 billion, against all predictions that Lyft will lose the battle early on to Uber. Lyft, ride-hailing second largest company, has captured 40% market share in San Francisco, and in newer markets such as Austin, Texas, it nearly matches Uber with 45% market share. Here's a Lyft ad trying to convince us that Lyft is more than just a ride.
My name is Frank Maharo. I live in Boyle Heights, and I drive for Lyft. I live here with my 4 daughters, Frankie, Layla, Ty, and Tess. I get lots of compliments on them over anything else. Is like how beautiful my kids are, how well behaved they are. And when I hear that, it makes me...
Lovely. Okay, there were a lot of surprises in CES, but the biggest of them all belonged to Netflix. The company announced it's now open for business on over 130 countries, making it the biggest TV network in the world. How did this small startup for DVD deliveries become the future of television, and why does it even matter? We'll talk about it in just a minute, but first, let's Netflix and chill.
While we have been here on stage at CES, we switched Netflix on in Azerbaijan, in Turkey, in Indonesia, and in 130 new countries.
That's it. Netflix is now global, except for a few countries around the world, like China. Netflix is everywhere. So, people of the world, what are we going to watch in the next year on a television over the internet thing?
Do you suppose I might borrow it for a couple of days? Just to practice.
Borrow it, ma'am? From whom? If it's not yours, whose is it?
Big smiles.
There's The Crown, the new biopic about Queen Elizabeth II, written by Peter Morgan, who wrote the original movie about Queen Elizabeth. He's a little bit obsessed. Netflix hopes it will become the next Downton Abbey and are already planning 6 seasons in an investment of over $150 million. That's royal money.
The pale-faced media tells us we all going to hell. But maybe we just the first ones to light the fire.
There's The Get Down, which is described as a musical drama created by Baz Luhrmann. Luhrmann is the director behind Romeo and Juliet and Moulin Rouge. He's also a strange and very campy pick for Netflix. There's a new Judd Apatow show called Love that Netflix has yet to release a single frame of it, but the show is already approved for a second season. Netflix can do such a thing. And there's, of course, Fuller House, the much anticipated sequel to Full House that apparently a lot of people wanted. It has a house and a dog and people from Full House. What can go wrong? There are also new documentaries and even movies that are going to get a release to theaters and to Netflix at the same time.
I think you'll find the information on the senator to be invaluable.
It looks like Netflix is just everywhere, and they are even buying Korean soap operas. They won't settle for less than world domination.
Yep, with me in the studio is Yaron Tenbring. Good evening.
Hi.
Yeah, so I did the 1 month free thing just to see Making a Murderer as quick as possible. I'm on episode 8 and I sleep very few hours each night until I finish it. So Netflix is now everywhere. Almost everywhere.
Not in
they came
China.
to Israel, they're everywhere,
Yeah,
basically. So how did they do that?
It's a huge surprise. I mean, we knew that Netflix is talking about 2016, 2017 as the years that they're going to go global. And we've been waiting to see how they're going to do it. And nobody was expecting that they do it completely over the web. I mean, usually they kind of piggyback on broadband connections of cable companies, and you have Netflix on your TV. What Netflix did is say, TV is dead. We're on the web. Whenever you want us, wherever you want us, whatever you want to watch, we're there for everyone. And that's, they call that checkmate, because what they did to the TV industry with this move is devastating. I mean, the interesting thing is that an average Netflix user in the States is skipping, because he's watching Netflix and not broadcast TV, 130 hours of commercials a month.
Wow.
That piles up to huge amounts of money that the television world is losing because of Netflix viewers. And, take all that data that you have on Netflix and now you have to increase it at least tenfold. You have a revolution on your hands.
A revolution that will come to what? I mean, let's imagine together.
It will come, I think, eventually to a place where CBS, ABC, NBC, Fox will be fighting to have their content on Netflix, because that's the only way millennials are going to watch it. 79% of millennials in the United States are watching Netflix. That's an astonishing number, and it's just going to keep growing, I guess.
I'm not a millennial. Okay, so they changed everything about the way you distribute television, but let's talk shortly about content. Is it really that different than things you can see on other TV broadcast channels?
It's different from broadcast. It's not that different from premium cable. I mean, if you compare Netflix productions to HBO productions, then HBO is doing better television. But Netflix has the advantage of the platform, which is very easy to use and fun to use. HBO has only jumped on the online bandwagon recently with HBO Now, but content-wise, let's say HBO is still winning the game. Their productions are of greater value, and they have bigger stars, but that will eventually change as well, because Netflix, just in 2015, they did 16 TV series productions in the States alone, and they're doing TV productions around the world as well, which is a huge advantage over traditional American television.
Yeah, every time I hear the new lineup, like the short story we heard before, I keep on wondering, where does all the money come from?
That's a good question. I mean, but you have to realize that Netflix has existed since 1997. It's been a big business before it was online for DVD rentals, and they went IPO on 2002. Very successful one. They're a rich company, and they're getting a lot of money from subscribers all the time, every month. So they use that money, they invest that money in productions instead of, paying dividends to share owners. And that's a very good investment because one big series like House of Cards, which also sells around the world for local broadcasters, is bringing them so much money in that they... it's a good investment.
I get it. Yaron, thank you very much.
Thank you, Jason.
Viewers, thank you very much for watching us, but stay with us. We'll be right back.